What is the STEM OPT extension? STEM OPT is a 24-month extension of the initial OPT period. It is available to students with degrees in approved STEM OPT fields. The eligibility is determined by your zip code located on your I-20. More information can be found on the OIPS website, highlighted here. The I-983 training plan is required for all employment opportunities while you're on STEM OPT or applying for the extension. See OIPS website for the completed sample of this document. USCIS must receive the application for STEM OPT before the extension of before the expiration, of the current OPT EAD. You can see the timeline of the application for the STEM extension in the graphic below. You may start your application to USCIS 90 days before your current EAD card expires. And the latest USCIS will accept your application is just before your current EAD card expires. Once you receive your receipt notice from your application to USCIS for the STEM extension, you may continue working for up to 180 days while USCIS adjudicates your STEM extension request. Therefore, it's best that you apply early within the 90-day window before your current EAD card expires to ensure that you have that receipt notice and continue working for your employer without any interruptions.
Alrighty, so I'm just going to go through some things to remember and things to expect as you're going through this application process. In order to be eligible for a STEM OPT, you must have completed a STEM approved degree, which is determined by the CIP code associated with your major. Previously earned STEM degrees may also be considered for STEM OPT. If you have a previously earned STEM degree that you would like to use for your STEM OPT application, please contact OIPS so we can walk you through that process. Under STEM OPT, you are required to work in a paid position, and the employer must be registered with E-Verify. If your employer is not registered with E-Verify, it is possible that they enroll before your STEM OPT application is sent. Your employer must also consent to the stipulations outlined in the I-983 document and agree to update the document anytime material changes are made. The I-983 training document is a detailed representation of your employment while on STEM OPT. If there are changes to your employment, such as your worksite address, your supervisor, the responsibilities within your role, the I-983 training plan document must be updated and submitted to OIPS to reflect these changes. Next, we will be reviewing the STEM OPT application checklist and the I-765 application document. This presentation will be most beneficial for students who are ready to apply for STEM OPT and who are filling out or reviewing their already completed I-765 application. Before going further, make sure you submit the completed and signed I-983 document and apply for your STEM OPT I-20.
Now we're going to move on to the STEM OPT application checklist. This is the order in which we recommend that you should put the documents when you are sending them to USCIS. First document on the list is the G1145 e-notification. This is optional, but if USCIS decides to use this document, you will receive a text and an email once USCIS receives all your documents, which can be beneficial. However, this is not always 100%. Therefore, we highly recommend for you to use your own tracking through your mail. Therefore, you can track your own application. The second document on this checklist is the payment. You may pay for your STEM extension either through a credit card form, which is the G1450. You can click on the G1450 right here, right on the PowerPoint. You can also write them a check or money order. The current amount, which is always subject to change, is $410. Another thing that USCIS needs are 2 color passport style photographs. Sample and guidance for those photographs are available right here. We also would like you to include your name, date of birth, and which we would like you to print on the back of those photographs for identification purposes. All right, the next document is the most important document of your application, which is the I-765. Let's look at this document closely. The I-765 is the document that you applied for previously for your OPT. You may know that it's a long document, but it is used for many different applications for employment to USCIS. So some portions of it may not apply to you. Let's get started where it says start here. Since you're applying for a STEM extension and it's not your first time applying for OPT, you should select 1C, which is renewal of my permission to accept employment. Then in part 2, in the information about you, please input your family, given name, and middle name. If you don't have a middle name, you can write NA, N/A. And also in the next side of the form, for additional information on names, you should also write if you have any additional names that you use, or if you don't have any names that you use legally, you may write N/A here. All right, so after we type those things out, we can move on to the next page, also part 2 of the application, but it's your US mailing address. Some of you may have used the George Mason OIPS office in the past to have your USCIS mail your EAD cards to. However, due to COVID-19 and maybe other circumstances, OIPS may not be always the best place to have your application forwarded here. So if you have a valid mailing address, like your house address, you may put your address here. However, if you don't have a valid mailing address, you can use the OIPS address. However, we do not recommend that at this time. Or you can use a family or a friend's address. Make sure you use an address where you know for sure that your application EAD card will be received. So you know that you have the documents. They have your documents. Okay. If in question 6, it asks if your current mailing address is the same as your physical address. You will select yes or no there. If it is no, then you'll have to write a physical address in sections 7A through 7D. If you answer yes in section 6 and your mailing and physical address are the same, then physical address will not be necessary. Okay, so under other information, alien registration number under number 8. So the A number is your USCIS number on your EAD card. You can write that number here. Number 9, USCIS online account number. This actually does not apply for you as an OPT applicant, so you can leave that blank. Please select the right answer for number 10 and 11. Number 12, have you previously filed Form I-765? Well, since you're applying for a STEM extension, yes, you have applied previously for an I-765 when you filed for a PT, so you'll have to select yes here. Has the Social Security Administration ever officially issued a Social Security card for you? That is 13A. It is most likely yes here, because in order to work in the United States, you have to have a Social Security number. So you can select yes here. If you don't have a Social Security number for some reason, then you can apply for one here. But most of you will have a Social Security number. So in 13B, you can enter your Social Security number. Once you enter your Social Security number, then in item 14, you can select no. And then we can, let's see, move on to item 18, since you will not need to apply for a Social Security number. In item 18, A and B, you should enter the countries of your citizenship or nationality. Please check your passport for that information. In the next page, please write your place of birth. You'll need to include in sections 19A, B, 19C, the city, state, and country of your birth. Then in item 20, please write your date of birth. In item 21A, it is asking for your form I-94, arrival departure record number. You should have printed your I-94 number previously, but if you have not, please go online to the SCVP website and print out your I-94 card and put in the number here. 21B, passport number. And here they need the passport number of your most recently used passport, which means that should be the most recent and valid passport. 21C, travel document number. This question does not apply to you as the NOPT or NOPT STEM OPT applicant. Country, 21D is the country that issued your passport. 21E is the expiration date of your passport. Date of your last arrival into the United States in item 22 will be the date that shows on the I-94 arrival departure record, then place of your last arrival into the United States can also be found, on the I-94. Item 24, immigration status as your last arrival. Now, for most of you, that's going to be F1, since you have been probably F1 for a while. However, think about the last time you entered the United States. If for some reason the last time you entered the United States you were on a different status than F1, then you'll need to put a different status like H4 or B1, B2, or A1 status here. However, if the last time you entered was F1, please enter F1 student here. Item 25, your current immigration status. Well, you're applying for a STEM extension. Therefore, your F1 status is required here. Item 26, student and exchange visitor information. That is the SEVIS number. The SEVIS number can be found on all of your I-20s. So please look for it there. Item 27, that is a very important section. So if you're applying for a STEM extension, please remember that you need to put C3 C to apply for STEM extension. Now in item 28, please write the name of your degree, or you can write your zip code in this section. Now in 28B, employer name as listed in E-Verify, so they need the official name of your employer. 28C, employer's E-Verify. Please put the E-Verify number here. Be careful, it's the E-Verify number that they need, not the EIN number. You may skip item 29 and item 30, as well as 31 at this point. They do not apply to your status or this application. So we can go to part 3, where you need to fill out the applicant statement, and then make sure you scroll down and fill out your contact information and date and sign your application. But before we print the I-765, because we're almost done, that's great. We need to scroll down further, because a few pages after this one will most likely not apply to you. They're about a lawyer signing and filling out your application. So most of you are not using attorneys. So we can just skip section 4 and go straight to part 6 for additional information. So here, make sure you go, you put your family given and middle name as you put in the beginning of your application, and the A number as listed on your EAD. And then here is where you put some information about employment or other visa statuses or additional information that you would like USCIS to know. You can write, for example, if you wrote in this section, page number 3, part number 2, item number 27, you can go down and write that you were on OPT full-time, and what CVIS ID you were on, what degree level, let's say you were a master's student, and then you can write the start and the end date for your OPT. So this is the least you can do in this application because you are currently on OPT. So this is at least one thing that you can include. Other things, as I mentioned, that you can include likewise further down are previous CVIS IDs if you had them, CPT information, other OPT information if you did OPT in previous years. So a lot of information to include here if is needed. For detailed description of what kind of information you can include here, you can look in the application instruction that were sent to you via email from OIPS. Okay, so now that we're done with the I-765 and we go back to our checklist. All right, so the big part of the application is done, the I-765, that's great. So we can take the I-765, we can take the photographs, and we can take the payment, and we can attach those three together with a paper clip. Remember, don't attach the whole application with staples or anything like that. Don't staple anything except individual documents together. You try to use paper clips as much as you can. So now that the I-765 and all prior documents are ready, other documents that are supporting documents to include with your application. You should have received your STEM OPT I-20 by now. So please don't forget to sign it and include a copy of that I-20. That I-20 is good for 60 days, so please submit your application within that period of time. Copies of other previously issued I-20s, so you'll have I-20s for that degree, OPT I-20s, stuff like that. Copy of passport, please submit your valid passport. Copy of F1 visa or the F1 change of status approval notice if you change status in the United States. The copy of the I-94 card, you can click on this blue link to download. It will take you to the US website, government website to download the most recent I-94 card if you need one. Also, you can include a copy of your previous EAD card. That's important. Finally, proof of degree, which can be a diploma, a copy of your diploma that you received from George Mason University, or proof of, and also proof of employment. So for proof of employment, it can be your job offer letter. You can also include a month or two worth of pay stubs. Okay, so this includes our checklist. And hopefully you are ready to submit your application to USCIS. Thank you.
All righty, back again with some final reminders for this application process and kind of what to expect after you've submitted and throughout your time on STEM OPT. So just as a reminder, USCIS must receive your application for STEM OPT within 60 days of STEM OPT I-20 issuance. In other words, OIPS recommends you for STEM OPT. That recommendation is valid for 60 days, and USCIS must receive your application for STEM OPT before that recommendation expires. Another thing to note is that the receipt notice from USCIS allows for continuation of work for up to 180 days. So after you have received the receipt notice from USCIS that notifies you that your application has been received and is being processed, you are able to continue working under your OPT status for up to 180 days. Another note is an additional 60 days of unemployment will be added to any remaining unemployment days from your initial OPT period. So there are 90 days of unemployment in the initial OPT period, and during your STEM period, an additional 60 days will be added to any unused or remaining days from your OPT period. A very, very important reminder is the reporting requirements for STEM OPT, which are due every 6 months. They must be submitted to OIPS. And these reporting requirements are essentially confirmation that you are a continuation of work with your employer. There are evaluations that are due during some of these reporting requirements as well. They are due every 6 months, as I mentioned, so there are 4 throughout your time on STEM OPT. Please keep these deadlines in mind and reach out to OIPS if you have questions, because it is important that you complete them. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. We hope that it was informative and helpful to you. If you have other questions, of course, please feel free to reach out to us. We are very happy to help you in this process. Thank you.